And yes, and we have today a lecture, Q&A session, and feedback session to reflect and discuss the course as a whole. So my pleasure to give a floor to Olena Muradyan.
Thank you, Svetlana. It's very symbolic that for this course, for this lecture and final lecture, especially you who are giving me the floor, because I don't want to say many years ago, but sometimes ago, Svetlana was really my teacher who gave me this course, actually course in gender studies. That time was this gender sociology as a course for teaching, as a course for improving, and as was also students. And after some time, I finished my university, my faculty. I became a teacher, and now I'm a dean of the School of Sociology. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you in so-called online auditorium of Karazin University, because actually I'm in Karazin University in Kharkiv now. And after the 2022, I'm not those who just talk about gender issues, but those who are talk about higher education and everything that's connected, all changes that's connected to this topic. I'm a dean of the faculty already 9 years. And I'm involved in management, and all the wartime I had my personal experience to see all these changes that's higher education system living nowadays. I would like to talk today, actually I made this effort not just talk from eastern part of Ukraine, because as you can understand, it's quite specific. And I will talk a bit about the general situation in higher education. For those who are tightly involved, it can be quite maybe understandable, but also I would like to show you today that situation in different parts of Ukraine are quite different. And when we talk about some kind of inequality in higher education, we can talk about this in a very broad context nowadays. It's from regional, from geographical point of view, it's from a gender point of view, it's from economic point of view, it's even from security point of view, it's quite understandable, yeah? And today I would like to talk also about the topic that came to not just my mind, it's actually in educational discourse for the last maybe almost 2 years since war had started, the situation of the thinking, the role of university. I tried to talk about it first maybe a year ago when we understood that our mission, vision of the university, all this shouldn't be just pathetic, shouldn't be just something de jure, but should be de facto. And what does it mean to be a socially responsible university? What does it mean to continue to work in this condition, to think about rebuilding in the situation when war is going on? What does it mean to talk about resilience, etc., etc.? Of course, we would like to talk about positive cases mostly, and I can say that from my point of view, Karazin University in many ways is positive case, not just because I work here, but also because we still have sources, economic sources, human resources, etc., not to be evacuated. To continue our work and to increase our role in this region. And same, I can talk about many university, many higher education, but also today I would like to point that not all university will be able to survive in these actually nowadays, especially after this period, also from many reasons, but let's talk about this step by step. First, what I would like to talk, that's nowadays I have counted, it's already 755 days since we leave the war. Doesn't matter where we are located geographically, we are living this. We are living this experience. When we talk about how it's influence on our life, of course, in all spheres, that's no doubts about this. And when we talk about this full-scale invasion, we talk that this is this brought really significant changes in our life, and especially the changes touched the education. If you will analyze the literature about this topic, mainly I can say not mainly, but you will find a lot of research connected to the school education as it is, because and mainly that's why very shortly I will also start from this. Why? Because when we talk about some changes in higher education, it have started not just 2 years ago. We are talking about significant changes during the COVID time. And already almost 2 or 4 years, even more than 4 years, we are living in the situation where also accepting quite new students for us, students who are living in this online mode since their school time. But when, if we are talking about this school influence or influence of this school life under the wartime, first of all, when we talk about the education for children, due to hostilities, due to destruction of the school. Later, I will show you figures. Almost 400 educational institutions across the Ukraine were partly, let's say, were affected by the shelling. It's not 4,000, it's almost 3,800, but still you can understand that it's a lot. And almost 400, and figure will be 365 totally destroyed. But this is ongoing process, unfortunately. If you can hear about the eastern part, Karazin part, if you talk now about Sumskoye region, Kharkiv region, this process of destroying sadly going on now. But effect not just from destroying, effects is also from displacement, millions of children, their families, their generally about the changes of their environments, etc., etc. And in the end of the presentation, because it will be my lecture is recorded, and also I will send the presentation, you will see everyone who will be interested, you will see some links. It's, as for me, quite interesting report, quite new report in 2024 about the studying the situation in school education, and we were really encouraged to read this, because the point is what kind of pupils will next year, for example, come to the universities. Do they have desire to do? What kind of strategy higher education need to use to get these students, etc., etc. Because I will not talk the details in this report, but mainly you can find a lot of detailed information about barriers to learning that students and their parents meet, about that remote learning wasn't a solution for many issues, and what kind of specific situation was and is in the front lines, in the border region, etc. What kind of complicated situation is even in the western part, because let's understand that situation of struggling, let's say, it's not just about be under the shelling, but in the western part there is different situation of the that region wasn't really ready for so many students. Even if we will talk about higher education, some of the universities are overloaded with students nowadays, same as schools, etc., etc. In that report, you can find the figures. That's more than 1/3 of the children, and even more parents who are saying that they are really feeling need of psychological help, etc., etc., etc. So we can understand that nowadays the situation is really very complicated, even when we talk about school education. But when we talk about higher education, maybe someone can say that all is not so complicated because we are talking about adult people who are entering university, etc., etc. But I don't think so. And actually, also the damages influence on the higher education are also quite significant. We can say that in statistics, approximately 21% of Ukrainian higher education institution, I mean, I'm talking about physical buildings, they have been damaged in this or that way during this ongoing Russian invasion. And if we talk about research institution, these figures even higher, because it's almost 1/3. So we can understand that 1/3 of all research institutions are not able to function nowadays. What does it mean? That means decreasing of those who are able to do their research, to continue their work, to get their full payment, to feel this uncertainty about their future, etc., etc., etc. Because about the rebuilding, about the new buildings, new physical buildings, no one talk nowadays. Not so many people are ready even discuss the issues of investment, etc., etc. Everything is going on with the situation post-war reconstruction, post-war time. So how do we deal with this? And point is that of course, it's very unequal, as I told you, from different part of region. Mostly eastern part, I will show the map. Eastern part of Ukraine are influenced most from this. And I will explain why, mainly because even nowadays, even staying in these buildings, as for me, more or less safe buildings, we are not able to provide offline education. And this also influence on our present and our future, etc., etc. But point is that despite the war, what is happening, despite the war damage, despite the destroying, what's happening nowadays, what's happened after 3 weeks in March, after the war have started in March 2022, Ukrainian university have remained opened, and despite the conflict, work was going on. The quality of the first months of the education process, this is a separate topic, and we can understand that it was for everyone, it was asynchronic way, and it was in the way just to finish that semester, that's academic year, but finally, mostly all university, all higher education was successful in about this. Also, the point is that during the time when education process was going on, during all the time, part of the territory that you can see on the screen was under the temporary occupation. That's why some higher education experience absolutely different situation, even from those who are, for example, in eastern part university. That's how we know about the Mariupol University that was fully relocated and evacuated to Kiev region nowadays, or the same was partly in Kherson also, etc., etc. Here, as you can see, the statistics, and also if you don't work with this service, I really my advice to use these safe schools in UA. You can see the ongoing statistics about the how many children are affected by the war, and you can see statistic from from different region about this later. Also, I will show this. We were living in some situation, now I can say we were living but in some universities, there is a situation nowadays that education process was from bomb shelters. Yeah, even nowadays, I will show in the end some photos. All our main offline events are going on a basement in a safe spaces, and we can understand that to be nowadays in all Ukraine and to sit in front of the windows and don't stay in the bomb shelter, it's some kind risk. And point that's not that everyone really are ready for this, and that's why even those who are staying in Ukraine faces a lot of emotions, psychological issues. We'll talk about it a bit later. What are the key challenges for higher education for Ukrainian universities for these 2 years? 2 years, it's really a lot. It's really a lot. We had different period. First period, I can say it's first phase of the war. As for me, the universities really became a huge hubs that it was safe space for students, for their parents, for IDPs people, etc., etc. And that's why, or mostly because the universities, for example, like ours, it's old buildings with old thick walls, with bomb shelters, not sometimes proper shelter, but still. It was hubs for volunteers. It was, and university infrastructure really was used as like long time stay for different kind of IDPs, etc., etc. But mainly, if we are talking about the university generally, it was the structure of educational infrastructure and also relocation for those who made this decision. Yeah, the impact on the organization of the education process. I told you that we are not talking much about the quality of the education first months of the war. And that's why it was quite complicated for those, for example, who finished that BA level to continue to study on MA level, because still for continue their study, they needed to pass exams even in 2022. And in that emotional and that psychological states of the first months of the war, it was really quite complicated, but somehow, as for me, still, it was more or less successful because all universities restarted their educational process. Impact on students and teacher, that's also psychological, physical, economical. We should understand that there's also yes, some university, not some, but all universities have adopted this distance learning to better protect their students, but still some of them didn't have a possibility to continue their study, and especially those students who were forced to flee their homes because of these Russian attacks and safety situation. They were really welcomed to university of other European countries. That's why all Ukrainian university in first year, they feel that's decreasing of the quantity of the students. Later situation changed, especially for universities who are in central part and in western part of Ukraine, because a lot of students from southern part and eastern part were relocated to the that part universities, and not all of them are stayed in Europe. But still, as for me, the situation that European university, American universities still offer this program to support Ukrainian students, staff, institution. It was a great solution, and it is a great solution nowadays, because as I told you, not all Ukrainian university can provide all needs and working places, and for that time and nowadays. What's university met in the first year of the war, and it was actually continuing last year also, the new procedures for admission to higher education institution. It's so-called national multidisciplinary exams, let's say so, and NMT. And the point is that before, pupils were preparing to absolutely different exams, and it was also some kind of effect on their choices of being student of that, so that it's discipline, etc., etc. Decreasing the level of democratization of management in some universities, especially for those universities where it was time, for example, for rector selection or dean select or management election, etc., etc. All that's still on pause, and not so many of those continue all this process. Changes in financing of higher education in wartime condition, it's actually a very let's say a very big point and very sensitive point for everyone who are working at university, because we are talking about situation not just about the salary as it is, but also about the possibility for research work, about the possibility for some academic mobility. If you talk about academic mobility supported by university, etc., etc., etc. It's quite understandable why, and also because a lot of let's say significant part of financial sources that universities before had in their own pockets, they used for some kind of small rebuildings. What I'm telling about the small rebuildings, for example, our university experienced few times when we just lost 700 windows. Last time it was almost 1,000 windows. And yeah, sometimes I can hear the answer, question, what is the point? You're a governmental university, big university, someone should help, etc., etc. But when it's happening in January 2nd, when it's minus 10 on the street, you don't have time for all bureaucratic issues to wait for help from ministry, etc. What you are doing, you're just keeping all your stuff, and university buying all the furniture that we need, and we ourselves try to cover the windows, because otherwise there will be really big damage for heating system, and if it's a classical university, we have some School of Biology, they have a lot of issues that should be in proper temperature, or a School of Chemistry, etc., etc., etc. Point is that when we talk about the, especially I'm here just pointed new procedure for admission, when we talk about the changes and about finance from another side, from the how higher education nowadays connected to the mobilization, to the war. I was thinking, should I touch this topic or no? Of course, I decided very shortly touch it, because especially a lot of critical issues about the proportion of men of so-called mobilization age that's nowadays in so-called fee-paying position. That means they pay for their education, and significant and increasing of the quantity of those students are really huge if we talk about different age groups. You can see age 20, 29, 30, 39, and 40 plus, and you can see here the year, and you can see that in somewhere it's not just 10, not just 20, not just 30 times plus. And that's why university met a lot of critiques from especially, let's say, civic society also, like, why is this? Point is that and this imbalance, it's really existing imbalance. I also found the statistic, I will provide these sources from geo media about male and female students nowadays, and this disproportion that appears, and you can see it on the screen. In generally, more than 200,000 male students enrolled in paid education in 2022. 23, while, for example, before the war, it was almost 100,000. But in the same time, it's really additional income for the university. In the same time, they really passed all exams. In the same time, the university had this possibility to accept this quantity of students because we have so-called license for this or that educational program, and it was time when it was just mostly filled. What will be the result of it? Time will show. Of course, it's not just about the bachelor level, it's also about MA level, it's also about PhD level. But here we can understand that, of course, not all of them have really great, big desire to become a scientist. And what is the future of the science, where PhD students, their motivation to be on this, to get this scientific degree is quite different. That will they get this scientific degree or no? This is really big issues nowadays, but it is as it is, and this balance nowadays you can see it's quite significant. When we talk about the war and post-war perspective, we should talk about what will happen in 5, 10, 15 years. It's very complicated. Here you can see the photo of our School of Physical Technical faculty of our university. It was a laboratorium, and we can understand that to reconstruct, to rebuild it, it will take really years. But point is that nowadays we can see that education system really adapted well enough to the war. Universities that are located in central and western part, they are actually really full with students, of those who are eager to have offline education, for those who are mainly abroad, for those who are staying on the territory, like, for example, Kharkiv region, they, as we see from statistics, prefer to continue their online education. And that's why universities like, for example, Kharkiv, like Karazin University, is on an online format of education. And we really do our best to provide offline, just separate offline meeting in bomb shelter. But point is that first of all, we are not having enough safe spaces to provide even partly education process. And if we talk about the schools, so you can also know that it is just forbidden for schools, and here is also about kindergartens to work offline in Kharkiv. That's why we have so-called underground school, underground kindergarten, but it's covered just maybe 10% of the needs of these places and schools. And later on in the final slide, I will show you this trend, underground buildings, underground education. That's why very soon, looks like in April, we will have first underground school built in Kharkiv. And the point that's probably it will be a trend for the border region, especially we had a meeting with the mayor of our city. He said that they have a plan to have this kind of school in all big part of the city. Why? Because we are the border region, and our future is really very, very unsafety, let's say so, even if we will talk about the end of the war. And in this situation, some universities also have these ideas. We also have this in mind, this big project of underground university, but it's really need huge investments. But at least I can say that we have this project nowadays. It's not just about the proper bomb shelters, but it's about the buildings under the ground. But let's see. Nowadays, as for me, after this 2 years of the war, Ukrainian academia can be seen as some kind indicator of, I put these ideas on the slide, how the Ukrainian society practices resistance and how they try to create this new stability, because still we have a lot of students who continue to be continue to be our students, continue their work, continue their MA studying, PhD studying. They believe in the future of this region, etc., etc. They work together for us for new like some programs, etc., etc. Those who stayed here and those who are working as a part of university, even from abroad, there was some kind of rethinking that nowadays we are physical and virtual space for some kind, not just social responsibility, but also research responsibility to society. That's why a lot of people try to reorient their research research, let's say, research direction. And I can say on the example of our university, what kind of new research area not just appeared, but where is this intensification? Of course, it's agro sector. I will point on the paper about this. Of course, it's civil unmining. Of course, this is Hromada interaction and role of Hromada of this interaction, resocialization of those who are coming back to Kharkiv. Because in Kharkiv, we have these waves of people who are coming back after some intense shelling, go to another region, and we have these waves of people all the time. This research topic on gender inequality. Somehow it's became quite popular. I see my time. I will try to be quite fast. Women leadership. I can see that even those who didn't talk about that before, even some faculty in economic, business, etc., they started to search these grants for discover this topic, because what is the result? How to help in these issues, etc. Retraining of teachers, and this is some kind of social mission for big universities, how to provide new skills to work with children that are meeting so many issues, first of all, psychological issues, and who didn't have proper education in many ways. What to do with this lack or closed kindergarten schools, etc. What to do with the occupied territories, etc., etc. And this is reorientation are quite significant for our university, for example. The point is that nowadays university, it's some kind, it's a subject and the agent of these changes in Ukrainian society, and that's why education in extreme condition, that's what we can hear about it very often. So we talk about this kind of triangle of resilience, resistance, and responsibility. To be honest, I can understand that's not all university will survive. That's for sure, and that's what academia started to talk even the first year of the war, even in March 2023 in Kyiv School of Economics. As for me, was really great roundtable. After that, I didn't see so as for me clear topic of this problem, that we should talk about different definitions. Sustainable universities in this condition, what does it mean? Socially responsible university, and how to talk and how to deal with this brain drain and the role of university, how to get back all this talent to Ukraine, etc. Is it really enough to talk just about high salary? What to do with security issues? What to do with many other issues, etc. But as for me, all is quite more complicated, because here is we should talk about different levels. When we talk about the national level, as I told you, you should think about new mission of university. Nowadays, we not just educate. It's not a point. Education, yes, but for many issues, we are especially in the first months of the war, we understood that sometimes we were even more responsible for students than everyone, because their parents were quite far, because they needed really psychological, economical, other kind of support. And nowadays, a lot of students still continue to see the university as their like second home, etc., etc. But in the same time, how to work in the occupied territory, what to do with these territories, and what to do, and how, in some university, especially evacuated university or relocated university, they have their special mission, like Mariupol University. Yes, they're some kind of ambassadors of their cities in Ukraine, and multidisciplinarity, that is also quite important nowadays. We can't talk about this clear science, especially if you talk about humanitarian science, etc., etc. I will mention a bit later, right? Because and nowadays, if you will analyze the new educational program at universities, who are really trying to do it not just to attract new students, but to work in the research topics. So this cybersecurity, inclusiveness in many ways, psychological rehabilitation, etc., etc. It's becoming really quite wide, quite a lot of this program. Institutional dimension. Actually, one thing to talk about relocation, another thing talk about the development, as I told you. It's future prospect for many universities, but for some of them, it's already reality, reducing the number of university, unification. Even now, our university in this process, because two of the university, Ukrainian Engineering Pedagogical Academy, becoming a part of our university. It's very painful process for many reasons. And here, how to provide it in a correct way, it's quite a big issues, because university met this problem of rankings. Still, we are depending on this international cooperation, foreign students, especially because of so significant decreasing. And also, university and society is as a vector of others. Point and line that should be built, like trust and cohesion. It's very important, and as for me, that's what big universities nowadays are doing. Rebuilding and developing strategies for these hromadas, for this territory. Someone should do this. Some think tanks should work for this. For example, our role is for, we see our role in this process, not just in Kharkiv region, but in Donetsk, Lugansk region, or if you talk about, like I remember the Mariupol or Kiev, yet that's a really produced with their huge potential of their academia, etc., etc. Here also you can see the topic of leadership, team buildings, anti-crisis management on the occupied territories, etc., etc. And the topic of lifelong learning, especially with the understanding that it should be very different from veterans and female and male veterans. This is big topic that's nowadays are not solved. For example, in our university, we can understand that it should be different approaches, but what kind of approaches? Still no answer. University and community, this interconnection became very, very tight because, for example, as our university, we are really a center for all the process from the military administration, mayor administration, all big international humanitarian organization, etc., etc. And it became some kind of communication platform if you are open to these new ideas, etc., etc. But point is how to work with this security component of modern special development. And it's become, cities are changing. For example, if before some part of the university or of the city was very popular, but nowadays it's very unsafety with all these modern buildings that are empty, and people prefer go to the villages side or to the unpopular before part of the city. And how how to develop this, etc., etc. University and personality. As I told you, everyone who is working in academia can understand that it's not just about education as a process. Yes, it's about values, it's about subjectivity, it's about collegiality, it's about how to create this professional networking and professional networking within country and those who are staying abroad, what's kind of human resources strategy to choose, what to do with those who are not able to use, for example, academic mobility, and how to deal with this, as we know that female staff are having possibility to use their individual professional strategy, go abroad, visit conferences, teaching courses, etc. But male almost, they are very limited. I can't say that it's impossible, but they are very limited with this. Just one example. That's for us, there is also no answer nowadays. And also I would like to touch, I will try to finish in 5-7 minutes, and I'm ready to answer your questions. But also there is one point that I would like to touch. In higher education, in the end of 2022, one significant issues happened, probably during the lecture, someone touched this. It's actually a strategy for implementation of gender equality in the field of education, especially higher education. More than 1 year we're working with this. It was saying that it's really big success. That's finally we are having this strategy. Remember all this Istanbul Convention, etc., etc. Point is that let's say start from this side. If you talk about the strategic goals, all is absolutely great, also absolutely clear. It's principle of equality, principle of measure equal rights, opportunities, strengthening the role of education institution in implementing different kind policy strategy, especially connected to the war situation and post-war reconstruction, how to work with all these STEAM specialities, how to make it more visible and for women, etc., etc. But point is that even how it started, for me, who was and is still responsible for gender issues in Karazin University, was a big question, because it was approved and signed in December 20, and in the same month we had a task from Ministry of Education give a report on action plan that was provided to us like a few weeks ago. So point is that's everyone was trying to get answer on the question that we just started to mention. And the point is that it was in very, let's say, alarming context, and in some way it became very formal as for me. And nowadays, what can I say about this? It's really having some influence on higher education, because person who is responsible for some gender issues should be on official position in every higher education institution. It should be some gender analysis, as you know, should be provided in every hromada, etc., etc., etc. It should be provided in schools, but somehow it's in a formal way. Still, why the main answer is that there are not enough specialists who are able to do this, because there wasn't really understanding of mechanism how to create, for example, one of these goals, this barrier-free, inclusive environment that should be friendly to families, to children, and people with reduced mobility, because of this the increasing level of people with disabilities, etc. that we should use new forms of teaching methods to contribute and to create this atmosphere of mutual respect. But how to do this? For those who met this first time, there is no really a lot of answers, a lot of like trainings, etc., etc. Nowadays, university, and that's why for this strategy, and those who are also responsible for this implementation, I'm a bit have a bit of critique of this. Let's see what will be, but we were reporting 2022, we were reporting 2023, we will be reporting in the end of the year, but just in the end of this year, I think we will have really something we are able to show as a result, etc. Nowadays, universities as a basis of not just educational cultural center, it's some kind of educational scientific center with sustainable this idea. As I told you, like Kharkiv sustainable space, this is big the project for the universities, and this idea of sustainability as it is something that's in mission and vision of all like big university. Universities are those who are center for research aimed at solving local problems. I told you these ideas. It's mainly also I can add it's some not just the occupied territories, IDP territories, but for example, nowadays we have another issues, so-called forced evacuation. That's mean that in some really unsafety, dangerous regions, it's impossible to stay with kids, but families, some families still making these decisions. So local government make making this forced mobilization, how to adapt these people who didn't want left their homes. This is big issues now, for example, in Kharkiv region, in these compact places of living of these families, etc. So all kind of support of IDPs, some kind energy efficiency hub. That was really very important, for example, 1 year ago for us when we had blackouts, and it was really serious issues, and university had these possibilities to help to people. International research networking, and as for me, this international research networking became those power that's helped to many universities to survive. That's my point, and that's why I'm very grateful to all our international colleagues, international supporters. And it's not just about the formal economic financial support. It's about being in the science, continue their research, having help from professional networking, having etc., etc. What I would like to finish with this, I remember I met this on the the conference of British Council from post-war reconstruction, and I applied to this idea of post-war reconstruction. We can see it from many perspectives, something that's preferable from us, that's probable, that's plausible, but all this is possible. We don't know how it will be, and this is present. We are staying here, we are looking on the future. I'm very optimistic. I try to be very optimistic about this future, but still we are on the gradation. This is I add already on uncertainty, and I don't know what will be next time, or what will be in 1 week, in 1 month, but still we continue, and very close to the front line, our online, offline, hybrid events, those in the center part of Ukraine and western part, they have this privilege to be in offline format. And what is good, this education process is continue. But for me, it's a much more than education process, what I tried to show you. And even a few weeks ago, we had this very big event, as I understood, one of the biggest in Ukraine, international offline conference. It was in the shopping mall, in the underground, more than 400 people of offline who was trying to talk about education underground. What is the perspective? What is our possibility? What is our future? Everyone was quite optimistic. Let's see what it will be. Here will be useful links. And I really hope that one time we will come to this idea. That's one building of our university, actually, will my alma mater. That's a building I was finished my MA thesis, and this is one of the projects. I really hope that one day we will see so. I'm ready to answer your question. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so very much for this very touching and thought-provoking and rich of material lecture. I would like to ask Daria to stop recording so